Did you remember a little while ago when we discussed how feminists had abolished beauty standards?
Yes.
It's a good little bit of fun, wasn't it?
Yep.
Turns out we have institutional support. Matt Gaetz got some flack, I believe it was CPAC a little while ago, coming out and saying, well, we'll just play this clip, won't we?
Have you watched these pro-abortion, pro-murder rallies? The people are just disgusting. Like, why is it that the women with the least likelihood of getting pregnant are the ones most worried about having abortions? Nobody wants to impregnate you if you look like a thumb. These people are odious on the inside and out. They're like 5'2", 350 pounds, and they're like, give me my abortions or I'll get up and march and protest. And I'm thinking, march? You look like you got ankles weaker than the legal reasoning behind Roe versus Wade. A few of them need to get up and march. They need to get up and march for like an hour a day, swing those arms, get the blood pumping, maybe mix in a salad.
I do like how politicians come down to our level. It was also a turning point action, allow me to correct myself.
Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong. The great joke of, if you don't support Roe versus Wade, you aren't getting this on Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay.
Never kissed a Tory. Thanks.
Yeah.
Stay away from me.
God, yeah.
Yeah. Whew, bullet dodged.
Yeah.
So they obviously went after him for this, and he just decided to double down.
Explain what you said and what you meant by that.
Well, I'm very pro-life, and I make no apology for it. And I'm grateful that Roe has been overturned and that Dobbs is now the jurisprudence on abortion. And I find these people who go out in these pro-abortion, pro-murder rallies odious and just like ugly on the inside and out. And I make no apology for it. I don't believe that every person who disagrees with my perspective on life is an ugly person, but the ones that are out there protesting and marching outside Justice Kavanaugh's home, trying to threaten the court, trying to impose a night of rage on our nation's capital, which is what they advertised, it's just pure ugliness. And I see that ugliness on the inside, I see it on the outside. Even in the horrible circumstance where an abortion may happen, it is nothing to celebrate and it is nothing to cheer.
Mm-hmm. Is it safe to say that based off of your comments, you're suggesting that these women at these abortion rallies are ugly and overweight?
Yes.
What do you say to people who think that those comments are offensive?
Be offended.
Mm-hmm.
So I've decided I've found someone who I would prefer over DeSantis for president, perhaps. Also from Florida, of course. Well, in the aftermath of his total vindication for a bogus child trafficking charge.
What if they're offended? Well, be offended. I'm surprised he didn't say go on a walk, lose some weight.
Yeah, Patrice O'Meara would once call, what, you think I'm going to march for fat people? What we're going to do, the £1 million march? Let's put his hypothesis to the test, shall we? Let's talk about how left-wing protests are disgusting. First one here. Trans activists left over 60 bottles of piss outside the EHRC.
Really? The EHRC?
Yeah, the ones that are on your side. The
Yeah, exactly.
Equality
Yeah,
and Human Rights Commission.
Your primary method of legal assistance, and you're going to... I mean, that's just vile.
This is an obvious fetish. That's the only thing to say. You've got this stunning and brave individual with a mask on with the lips of a Magikarp. So
just look at it. Go back up to the picture, John. Just that picture at the top, right? Like, this looks like something out of a horror movie.
Yeah.
Just some sort of dystopian fiction.
It's Eyed Shut.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is someone who represents a group called Pissed Off Trannies, who staged the dramatic demonstration to protest the Equality Watchdog's exclusionary policy on single-sex spaces. Basically, they couldn't get into Primark changing rooms and ladies lose, so they decided to urinate and cover themselves in it. Lovely.
Amazing.
So they left over 60 bottles of urine outside the offices for the Equality and Human Rights Commission in the UK. Masked representatives of the anonymous group POT ceremoniously delivered the urine to the HRC offices in Westminster and staged what they described as a piss-in. One member pissed themselves in this bejeweled gown before pouring bottles of urine.
I showed you, didn't I, EHRC?
Yeah.
I pissed myself.
It's basically a child's tantrum not wanting to eat broccoli in their high chair. They poured their own urine on themselves and the pavement, all while shouting the EHRC has blood on its hands and piss on its streets.
Good point. We need to defund it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Abolish the Equality Act of 1998. Yeah. The activists, speaking to Vice on the condition of anonymity, because of course you wouldn't be proud of this publicly, described the dramatic action as an extreme version of the public embarrassment that trans people experience on a daily basis, using the toilet that either doesn't fit with their gender or using the one that does and then facing the backlash of people's judgment. Yep, we're all judging you.
Jesus Christ.
They added, the EHRC is more concerned with pushing its transphobic agenda of self-ID than it is in protecting the civil rights of its people and those it's meant to serve, which are UK citizens. We want queer people to know that protests can be enjoyable, they can be theatrical, they can be exciting, and they can be full of rage. It's enjoyable to douse yourself in piss, is it?
It can be... Oh, that's just disgusting.
Thanks for admitting it's a fetish.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
it is definitely a fetish.
Speaking of excrement, we'll go on to the next one. I shit my pants, wrote felony assault suspect from anti-Dave Chappelle Minneapolis protest.
Stunning and brave.
Yep.
I mean, Matt
wonderful.
Gaetz is they're ugly on the inside and outside, being proven right.
Clearly leaving her mark on history. The far-left suspect...
Skid mark on history.
that was arrested on suspicion of felony assault and rioting during a direct action effort against comedian Dave Chappelle in Minneapolis.
She's 35.
It looks about 60.
30, yeah, but 35, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to go publicly crap my pants. That'll show Dave Chappelle.
Well, she's asking for donations after claiming she's disabled and incontinent from long COVID. Incontinence is not listed as a known symptom of those who have recovered from COVID-19, according to America's CDC. So we're only going by the health authorities' YouTube. Rachel Lee Bean, 35, was arrested on probable cause charges, a felony first-degree assault, after far-left activists tried to shut down Dave Chappelle's comedy show in Minneapolis. In a post in January 2021, Bean detailed her new experience with incontinence and blamed it on capitalism. I literally...
Capitalism made me shit my pants.
I literally shit my pants at 11:56, thanks for being so precise, on Wednesday, January 13th, 2021. I cleaned myself up and then went back to work and finished the workday like it was a totally normal effing experience to happen. She said, I fully absorbed that shitting my pants was just one of the many mild to moderately shitty days that one could have in a pandemic while also dealing with long COVID under capitalism.
Right. Stunning and brave.
Yeah. She's just following Biden's example, I'm sure.
Yeah.
In another blog post from November 2021, Bean opines about food shortages and blames the middle and upper classes. Would our backyard gardens grow with more vibrancy if we had guaranteed income? Perhaps there would be an abundance of food and it wouldn't be compressed into the overfed mouths of middle and upper classes. Perhaps there should be enough for everyone.
Oh, yeah, she looks like she's suffering from a food shortage. She's
clearly.
not overfed.
Yeah. Well, I hope her diarrhea isn't lethal, considering how much she must be malnourished.
Yeah.
Just a slight reminder, CNN has recently put out that you have a 50% higher risk of diagnosing long COVID symptoms if you have anxiety or depression. So the information that left-wing women have a massively high rate of mental illnesses may coincide with them suffering from the as yet undiagnosed but clearly traumatic symptoms of long COVID. Yes, how terrible for her. Speaking of diseases, let's look at the consequences of left-wing protests, shall we? Pink news. Why can't gay or lesbian twins have sex with or marry each other? Why is incest wrong between same-sex siblings?
I think when you're at the point where you're asking, so why is incest wrong?
Why can't I shag my brother?
You have to admit that you are disgusting, as Matt Gaetz pointed out.
But this is the consequence of the John Stuart Mill, as you said in your book club, harm principle mentality of, well, if there's a taboo, but you can negotiate and minimize harm, you can basically rationalize your addiction. Why shouldn't there be a prohibition against it? And conservatives must turn around and go, no, our sexual disgust sensitivity is ground enough to say, you're a degenerate, you're not doing this, even if you try to argue for it.
It is a priori wrong for sexual behavior to take place between family members such as mothers and children, fathers and children, or brothers and sisters, and brothers and brothers. It is intrinsic in the notion of what a brother is that sex is wrong between them. That's why.
But have you considered that because the Lannisters in Game of Thrones practice incest, it makes it okay? That's
I have
genuinely
not.
the first paragraph of this article.
Oh, well,
If you watch Game of
George R. R.
Thrones,
Martin wrote it.
you'll know that there's absolutely nothing wrong with effing your sibling in Westeros. Yeah, you know that scene in the first episode where they're doing that, get caught and throw a child out the window and permanently paralyze
That is
him?
disgusting.
That's a moral legitimizer for shagging your brother or sister, apparently. Incest is simply sexual activity between family members and close relatives. The English word is derived from the Latin word incestus, which means impure and unchaste.
There we go.
I agree.
That's exactly why. It's impure and unchaste. Probably some sort of abuse at base in every case.
Yes, but then the left has no problem with paedophilia, as we've already seen. For one, incest is illegal and frowned upon and no good because of inbreeding. Children of biologically related parents have a higher possibility of congenital birth defects.
But it also destroys the kind of relationship that you had, a wholesome, loving relationship with your family.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just about, like having a child with a birth defect. It's about an improper relationship between family members.
There are
That's what it is.
consequences for you too.
Yeah.
Bucking your
It's
responsibility
emotionally damaging.
yeah, is degrading for your own soul.
Yeah.
Although some anthropologists have argued that incest taboos are learned social conventions, they point out that even animals and plants have evolved and developed mechanisms to prevent incest. It's not just that it seems utterly grim to shag your relative.
But it does seem utterly grim, and with good reason, and that's good enough.
Yeah. In many places, sleeping with one's sibling is punishable by prison time,
Good.
though others argue that consensual incest is a victimless crime.
Yeah, degenerate commies argue that.
Yeah, it's not victimless. You're debasing yourself. You can
You're the
consent to
victim,
things. Yeah, you can consent to things which are awful for you. Don't do it.
Yes.
Providing the sex relationship takes place between consenting adults. Oh, I consented. That makes it all okay. Consent is not a moral standard. It's not just the biological issue, though. Incest laws also exist to protect children from sexually abusive parents and older relatives. Putting that in this article, where it's asking why you can't do it, is immediately suspect, isn't it? Incest between an adult and a person under the age of consent is considered a form of child sexual abuse. Considered. Not is. Considered, by the way.
Yeah.
And often results in serious long-term psychological trauma. Some argue that between consenting adults of the same age, though, incest is a victimless crime. That is, of course, providing they don't reproduce. So between twins of the same sex, where there are no grey areas regarding consent or abuse, no grey areas whatsoever. Totally fine. There's absolutely no chance that I will conceive. Why not? We wouldn't like to say, but it's an interesting theory. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, this is disgusting.
Yeah. Where would the line be drawn? What if both siblings were
Let's
infertile?
move on from this. This is
I've tortured you enough.
Yeah,
Yep, that's fine.
This is vile.
Let's look on the flip side then.
Right, okay.
They're bemoaning that prettiness is a privilege.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, because it's not shown up at left-wing protests. There's basically...
All those sexy right-wingers look good at their protests, and look at us.
We look like Batman villains
covered in piss.
shagging our sisters. An anonymous Mumsnet poster basically said, "Oh, my friend's very beautiful. She got into a relationship not so long ago, and she said she hopes that I'll be in one soon. But she doesn't understand that everywhere she goes, she gets doors held open for her. She gets compliments. She gets free things, bought drinks. Is it just that it's a prettiness is some sort of privilege, and they're trying to make prettiness an immutable construct?" So then they can create a victim class of the ugly. It's like you once said, where Lenin recruited a bunch of undesirables as communist revolutionaries.
Yeah.
It's exactly that.
It's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
But, the thing is, they're not wrong, but on the plus side, it's not immutable and it's not eternal.
No.
You are lucky if you become pretty, and it won't last forever. So
Yeah. Everyone has a relative genetic ceiling for your attractiveness, but you should work as hard as possible to hit it.
Yep.
So if we go on to the next one, there's just studies bearing this out. Conservatives are more attractive. Researchers
Less resentful.
Yeah, researchers
Happier.
found that being attractive influences many things in life, salary, popularity, and grades in school, but numerous studies show that good-looking people are likely to earn more, and that people who earn more are typically opposed to redistributive policies, so commies are all hideous. Past studies have found that the more attractive people believe themselves to be, the lower their preference to egalitarianism and a value that is typically associated with the political left. So right-wingers are just better looking. And again, there's cope, because attractive people are more likely to be conservatives because they have it too easy.
Oh.
Scientists claim they're blind to life struggles. Okay,
Well, good.
I'd rather be ignorant of your need to piss in the bathroom you identify than be ugly, frankly.
Conservatives have never once poured piss on themselves and shat themselves outside the ECHRC or whatever it is.
It's a good thing. So if you just like that sort of summary that you and Josh did for the website, you can sign up to lotuseaters.com and watch the contemplations on this, where Physiognomy actually has some kind of...
Yeah, no, and the thing is,
Validity?
I don't think they're wrong either. I think that you do have a better reaction from society in general if you are not hideously ugly.
Yep.
Leaning into your hideous ugliness is probably not the solution. Trying to overthrow society for treating you with less grace than a pretty person because you're ugly, you can say that it's unfair, and yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I try not to do that myself, but... I'm not in control of society.
No, there's no such thing as the year zero abolition of instinct. Instead, you're born in a time and place in a society, and you have to deal with the constraints you're given. So just
you've got to
improve
play the
yourself as
hand
best
you're
as
dealt.
possible. Exactly.
You've got no choice.
Yeah, as Roald Dahl once said, validating Physiognomy
I totally
in the
agree with
twits.
this too.
ugly thoughts. If a person has ugly thoughts, it begins to show on their face. And when that person has ugly thoughts every day, week, year, the face gets uglier and uglier until you can hardly bear to look at it. A person who has good thoughts cannot ever be ugly. You have a wonky nose and crooked mouth and double chin and stick out teeth, but if you have good thoughts, it will shine out of your face like sunbeams and you will always look lovely. Basically,
I totally agree. And I've known so many people like this as well.
yeah, manifest your politics in your complexion and virtue will shine forth and through. Though I kind of actually prefer Chet Hanks's advice, if we'll just watch this.
Are there any marginalized communities you want to apologize to? I don't know, maybe the Patois community?
Nah. I don't feel like I've truly done anything offensive, so.
You don't see it as cultural appropriation. You see it as like a celebration of culture. And then it's like social justice warriors can like go kick rocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good for him.
No comment. Got it.
No, I mean, I 100% agree. Social justice warriors can kick rocks.
What a chat.
So, if you're ugly, hard luck, I guess, if you aren't doing anything about it. And as for philosophies, just look at left-wing protests and go by Luke 6. Know the tree by their fruit.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Contemplation series, the most recent episode on human consciousness. If you want to find out what else Josh is putting out, you can follow him on Getter at Josh_firm on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.